it's your girl Miss T, and I'm just curious, how is it possible to take one of the scariest fairy tales of all time, Hansel and Gretel, and make it dull and boring? I don't know, but they found a way. Gretel and Hansel is a 2020 film adaptation of the German fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, written by the brothers Grimm. This film is directed by Oz Perkins. He has worked on The Black Coat's Daughter, and is produced by Brian Cavanaugh, who has worked on films such as Honey Boy with your boy Shia LaBeouf, and Sinister, which is a pretty good horror film as well. This film stars Sophia Lillis, you know, your girl Beverly March from It. That was a pretty good movie, so I was kind of excited about this film. I wanted to see what your girl could do. So guys, if you don't know about the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel, it basically follows the story of two children who are lured out into the woods by their parents. There's a famine going on at the time, and they got too many mouths to feed, so they got to get rid of them kids. So while the kids are wandering around in the woods, they are attracted to this house that is made up of gingerbread, cakes, and cookies. Pretty alluring for a starving child. However, there is a cannibalistic witch that stays in the house, and her plan is to basically fatten them up and eat them. But those kids outsmart her. So as a child, this film was horrifying. And in my opinion, I think that the writers, the producers, the directors had excellent source material. I thought this film was going to be great. I thought they were really going to bring it. Not so much. So guys, let's jump right into this review. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I enjoyed about the film, and then what I not so much enjoyed about this film. Let's get into it. So first, I really enjoyed how the writers captured the desperation of this time period. There was a famine going on, and in the opening scenes we get to follow Sophia Lillis' character, Gretel, as she is basically sent out to work. I think she's maybe only 14 or so at the time, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, I'm not sure. But her family is desperate. Their father has died. The mother doesn't have a way of bringing in income, and they are starving. And the mother basically says, look, y'all got to get the hell up out of here. And I think that was probably a very real thing. In fact, I'm sure that was a very real thing at this time. There was cannibalism going on. There were people abandoning their children because they just couldn't afford them. So I think they did a very good job at bringing that little piece of the story in from the fairy tale. The second thing that I liked about this film is that they revamped the story. I mean, this story is centuries old. It was long overdue for a revamping, and I think they did a good job of making it a little bit more modern. Of course, I would have loved to seen a real gingerbread house made out of cookies and cakes and whatnot, but the way they did it was a little bit more believable and digestible for today's audience. Another thing that I enjoyed about this film is how they successfully captured that dark looming presence over all of the characters throughout the film. There's not a lot of overt horror, but you just get that sense of something is not quite right here. There's a certain sinisterness throughout the film. You see it in films such as The Witch or Hereditary. There's like a slow build up, and you know that there is something that is going on that is just really sinister and demonic. Good job. Now I want to talk a little bit about what I did not like so much about this film. It was slow. It was very slow, and it was only 87 minutes. After a while, I felt like I was sitting there for hours, and I started to disengage with the characters and their plight. I was kind of like, let's get to it. Let's wrap this on up and get to the point. there was some things that I felt like they could have been left out. And secondly, this was supposed to be a horror film, granted PG-13, but I wasn't horrified at all. There were some disturbing things, of course, but I think this could be categorized as a thriller, not a horror. I was more horrified by the fairy tale. I mean, it just wasn't. And it's just really disappointing because with this particular fairy tale, I feel like they could have done so much more to really make this a great horror film. And it just didn't land. It didn't land. If I had to give it a rating out of 5 shots of Hennessy, I would give it 2.5 shots. 2.5 shots. So guys, I'm Miss T, and as always, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.